Sergeant Alan Wells stood with his arms crossed as he watched the transport ship land on the shiny floor of Earth Space Command's main hangar. The ship's engines powered down with a low hum that echoed through the large space. Alan had been in the United Space Force for 15 years. He had fought in the Belt Wars. He had helped save colonists during the Jupiter Station crisis. But today, his job was to babysit alien cadets. The ship's door opened with a hiss. 12 tall, slender figures stepped out. Their blue-green skin caught the light as they moved. Each alien had 6 limbs and walked with a strange, wobbling gait. These were the Tarvisians, from a planet called Tarvis Prime. Their world had much less gravity than Earth, only about 40% as strong. "Welcome to Earth," Alan said, stepping forward with a smile. "I'm Sergeant Wells. I'll be your guide during your stay." The aliens looked at him. Their faces showed clear discomfort. One of them stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with darker blue skin patterns. "I am Vextil, Senior Cadet," he said through his translator device. "We are struggling to adjust to your gravity." Alan nodded. "That's normal. You'll get used to it." Another alien, shorter with lighter skin, laughed. The sound was like small stones clicking together. "Used to it? How do humans live like this? Every day? My legs feel like they will break." This was Zexalor, his translator announced. "Your planet is so heavy," added a female cadet named Kirina. She tried to stand straight, but her 6 limbs trembled with effort. "Why couldn't we meet at Centauri Station instead? They can change the gravity levels there." Alan kept his smile in place. "The exchange program is about experiencing different environments. You'll be on Earth for 3 months learning how we train and live." The aliens did not look happy. They whispered to each other in their clicking language. Vexatil turned back to Alan, his head held high despite the obvious strain of Earth's pull. "We have studied humans in our academy," he said. His tone was not friendly. "Our tactical manuals call you gravity-bound heavy-worlders. Your kind is slow and limited by this crushing environment." The other cadets clicked in agreement. "I see," Alan said, still smiling. "Well, I'm just here to guide you through your Earth experience. Tomorrow we'll start with a light orientation hike through the mountains near the academy." "A hike?" Zexler asked. "What is that?" "Walking through nature," Alan explained. "Don't worry, it's just a light one, nothing too hard." The aliens looked at each other again. Then they began to laugh, their clicking sounds filling the hangar. "The human thinks walking will challenge us," Kirina said between clicks. "Has he not seen how we move on our world?" Vexatil stepped closer to Alan. "Perhaps you don't understand, Sergeant. We are the elite 0G combat division of the Tarvisian Military Academy. We train in no gravity at all. Your Earth's pull is uncomfortable, yes, but a simple walk? That will not be difficult." Alan just nodded. "If you say so. Let's get you to your quarters. You should rest before tomorrow." He led them through the station to a transport ship that would take them down to Earth. As they walked, the aliens struggled more than they wanted to show. By the time they reached the ship, all 12 were breathing hard. "Remarkable," one of them said quietly. "We've only walked half a mile." Alan pretended not to hear. Instead, he helped them board the ship and strap in for the trip down to the planet's surface. The trip was quick, but hard on the aliens. As the ship descended through the atmosphere, Earth's gravity grew stronger. When they landed at the academy, base in Colorado, several cadets could barely stand up. "Your quarters are this way," Alan said, walking ahead at a normal pace. The aliens followed, moving like they were walking through thick mud. "This is torture," Zexler complained. "How do your bones not break under this weight?" "We're built for it," Alan said simply. "Our muscles and bones are denser than yours, but don't worry. You'll adapt faster than you think." The cadets did not believe him. They struggled into their assigned rooms, many falling onto their beds with relief. "Rest well," Alan told them. "Tomorrow's hike starts at dawn." He left them to settle in and went to his own quarters. There he checked his tablet for the weather report. Perfect conditions for hiking. Then he looked at the trail map he had chosen. The light hike would take them up 2,000 feet in elevation over 5 miles of rocky terrain. For humans, it was indeed a moderate trail, challenging but not extreme. For the aliens from a low-gravity world, it would be the hardest physical test of their lives. Alan smiled to himself. Sometimes the best teaching came through experience, not words. These alien cadets thought humans were slow, weak creatures limited by their heavy planet. By tomorrow evening, they would see things differently. He packed his bag for the hike. Extra: water, first aid supplies, emergency communications gear, and energy rations. The standard 20-pound pack felt like nothing to him after years of military training. To the Tarvisians, it would feel like carrying a small child on their backs. This should be interesting, he said to himself as he set his alarm. He couldn't wait to see their faces when they realized what a light hike on Earth really meant. Outside his window, the sun was setting behind the Rocky Mountains. The peaks stood tall and proud against the orange sky. These ancient mountains had challenged humans for thousands of years. Tomorrow they would teach a group of alien cadets something that no tactical manual could explain: the true strength of gravity-bound heavy worlders. Alan went to bed early, knowing he would need his energy. Not for the hike, that would be easy for him, but for dealing with 12 struggling alien cadets who were about to learn an important lesson about humans and their relationship with Earth's gravity. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in bright colors. Alan woke up before his alarm and got ready quickly. He put on his hiking clothes, tough boots, light pants, and a shirt that kept sweat away from his body. The Space Force logo was printed on the front. He grabbed his packed bag and headed to meet the alien cadets. When he arrived at their quarters, he found them already awake. None of them had slept well in Earth's gravity. Their bodies, used to the gentle pull of their homeworld, had been uncomfortable all night on the academy beds. "Good morning," Alan said cheerfully. "Ready for our hike?" The aliens looked at him with tired eyes, but they stood tall, trying not to show weakness. Alan noticed they were all wearing special suits, thin, tight-fitting outfits with small machines built into them. "What are those?" he asked, pointing at their suits. Bextil stepped forward. "Adaptive exosuits. They help us function in high-gravity environments." He moved his 6 limbs in a smooth motion that would have been impossible without the suit's help. "See? With these, we can handle your planet's pull." Alan nodded, but his smile faded a little. "I see. But there's a problem. Academy rules say all cadets must wear standard issue gear for training. No outside help or special equipment." The aliens stared at him in shock. "That is not possible," Karina said. "Without our suits, we can barely move in this gravity." "You managed fine yesterday," Alan pointed out. "Slow, yes, but you were moving. The point of this exchange is to experience our methods firsthand. I have special uniforms made for your body type, but they don't have gravity assist systems." The cadets looked at each other, their skin changing colors to show their alarm. But they were soldiers trained to follow orders. Slowly they removed their exosuits and put on the human-made uniforms Alan gave them. Most of them struggled just to stand straight once the suits were off. "Now," Alan said, handing each of them a backpack. "Standard equipment for the hike." Zexler nearly fell over when he took his pack. "What is in this, rocks?" "Just the basics," Alan said. "Water, emergency supplies, food, communications gear. About 20 pounds. 20 pounds? Another cadet groaned. "That's like 50 pounds to us." "You'll be fine," Alan assured them. "The trail is well marked. We'll take breaks when needed." Led them outside where the morning air was cool and fresh. The aliens took deep breaths, at least enjoying the clean mountain air. But as soon as they started walking toward the trailhead, their troubles began again. "How far is this hike?" Vextil asked, trying to keep his voice steady as he adjusted. "His pack. 10 miles round trip," Alan said. 5 miles up to Eagle Point, then 5 miles back down. We'll gain about 2,000 feet of elevation." The aliens had no idea what this meant, but they nodded anyway. They had come to Earth believing humans were slow and weak. They were determined to prove they could handle anything humans considered light. The first mile was on flat ground, following a dirt path through tall pine trees. The aliens struggled but kept pace with Alan, who walked slowly for their sake. But when they reached the actual mountain trail, everything changed. "This is where we start going up," Alan said, pointing at the path that now climbed steeply between rocks and tree roots. The cadets looked up the trail with growing concern. On their world, they could have jumped up such a slope in one easy leap. Here, each step would be a battle against Earth's crushing gravity. "Let's go," Vextil said, taking the lead. "We are elite cadets of the Tarvision Military Academy. We will not be defeated by a walking path." The first hour of climbing was hard but manageable. The aliens moved slowly, often using all 6 limbs to steady themselves on the uneven ground. Alan walked ahead, sometimes stopping to point out interesting plants or views. "That's a blue spruce," he explained, touching a tree with blue-green needles. "And over there you can see the valley we just came through." The aliens barely looked. They were too focused on their burning muscles and aching joints. Earth's gravity pulled at them like a giant hand, trying to drag them back down the mountain, with every step. By the second hour, they were in real pain. "Sergeant Wells," Karina called, her voice strained. "How much farther?" Alan checked his device. "We've gone about 2 miles up, 3 more to Eagle Point." Zexler sat down on a rock, breathing hard. 2 miles? That's all? It feels like we've crossed half the planet. Let's take a water break," Alan suggested. He wasn't even sweating yet. The pack on his back might as well have been empty for all the trouble it gave him. Hydration is important at this altitude. The aliens gratefully drank from their water bottles. Some splashed water on their skin, which was turning pale from effort. "I don't understand," one of the younger cadets said quietly to Vextil. "How is he doing this so easily? He's not even tired." Vextil had no answer. He had always believed the stories about humans, that they were physically inferior, held back by their heavy planet. But watching Alan stand comfortably on the steep trail, breathing normally while they all gasped for air, made him question everything he had been taught. "We should continue," Vextil said, struggling to his feet. "We will not show weakness." The other cadets followed his example. Though many looked like they wanted to give up, they continued up the trail, now moving even slower than before. By the third hour, they stopped talking completely. All their energy went into the simple act of walking uphill. Each step became a personal victory against Earth's gravity. "We're making good progress," Alan encouraged them. "The view gets better the higher we go." The aliens didn't care about the view. They cared only about surviving this light hike that felt more like torture with each passing minute. What had started as individual struggles began to change. The cadets started to help each other. When one would slip on loose rocks, others would steady them. They took turns carrying the heaviest items in their packs. They warned each other about difficult spots on the trail. Alan noticed this change with satisfaction. This was what he had hoped for. Not just a physical challenge, but a lesson in teamwork under pressure. "Not much farther now," he called back, to them. "Eagle Point is just around that bend." The aliens looked up at the trail ahead. It seemed impossibly steep. But something had changed in them. They were no longer just trying to survive the hike. They were determined to conquer it. With new resolve, they pressed on toward Eagle Point, their bodies strained to the limit but their will unbroken. Earth's gravity was teaching them lessons that would change them forever. After 3 hours of hard climbing, the alien cadets finally reached Eagle Point. It was a flat area of rock that stuck out from the mountainside. The view was amazing. The entire valley spread out below them, with forests, rivers, and distant mountains all visible in the clear air. None of the aliens cared about the view at first. They collapsed onto the rocks, their bodies shaking with effort. Their skin had changed to a pale blue-gray color, showing how tired they were. Several lay flat on their backs, staring up at the blue earth sky. "We made it," Zexler said between deep breaths. "I thought I would die on that trail." "Everyone okay?" Alan asked. He was barely breathing hard. He took off his pack and pulled out a water bottle. "Take a good rest, drink plenty of water. We've got time before we need to head back down." Vextil, who had been the most critical of humans at the start, looked at Alan with new eyes. "How are you not exhausted? You carried more weight than any of us." Alan shrugged. "I grew up on Earth. I've been hiking these mountains since I was a kid. This trail is considered easy for humans." "Easy?" another cadet said in disbelief. "This would be impossible on Tarvis Prime. We have nothing like this." "That's because your gravity is too weak to create mountains like these," Alan explained. "Earth's strong gravity means we have tall, rugged mountains. It also means humans develop differently than your species." The aliens listened, too tired to argue. Their view of humans was changing with every minute they spent on Earth. After they had rested for a while, Alan handed out food from his pack. The aliens ate hungrily, their bodies needing energy after the hard climb. "When you're ready, I'll show you something," Alan said. Slowly, the cadets got to their feet and followed Alan to the edge of Eagle Point. The drop below them was hundreds of feet straight down to a pile of rocks. "This is why we came up here," Alan said, pointing out across the valley. "From this spot, you can see for nearly 50 miles on a clear day like today." The aliens finally looked at the view properly. It was unlike anything on their world. The strong gravity of Earth created landscapes that could never exist on Tarvis Prime. "It's beautiful," Kirina admitted. "Worth the climb, perhaps." "Does your species really do this for fun?" asked one of the younger cadets. Alan nodded. "Millions of humans hike these trails every year just for enjoyment. Some people run up and down them." "Run?" Vextil asked in shock. "That's not possible." "It is for us," Alan said. "In fact, there's a race that goes through these mountains. 100 miles, over 30,000 feet of elevation gain. The record is under 18 hours. The aliens fell silent, trying to process this information. Their entire understanding of humans was being turned upside down. As they rested at Eagle Point eating their food and drinking water, they began to talk among themselves in their clicking language. Alan let them talk, knowing they needed to make sense of what they were experiencing. Finally, Vextil approached him. "Sergeant Wells, I have a question." "Go ahead," Alan said. "How do humans endure this gravity every day? Not just the hiking, but living with this constant weight?" Alan thought about it. "We don't see it as something to endure. This is normal for us. We're born into this gravity. It shapes us from the moment we're born. Our bones grow dense, our muscles develop strength. We don't fight against gravity, we work with it." The alien considered this. "On our world, we pride ourselves on speed and agility. But here, those mean little against the basic strength your kind develops naturally. Different evolutionary paths," Alan said. "Neither better nor worse, just different. Your species developed incredible reflexes and coordination. Ours developed endurance and raw strength." While they talked, clouds began to gather over the distant peaks. Alan checked his weather device and frowned slightly. "We should start heading back down," he said. "There might be rain later and the trail gets slippery when wet." The aliens looked down the mountain with dread. Going down would work different muscles, but would be no less challenging. "Is downhill easier?" Zexler asked hopefully. "Different," Alan said. "It's easier on your lungs but harder on your legs. You'll need to control your descent against gravity. If you just let gravity pull you, you'll fall." He showed them how to walk downhill, placing their feet carefully and using their core muscles to stay balanced. The aliens watched and tried to copy his movements. "Use all your limbs if that helps," Alan suggested. "Find what works for you." They started down the trail, moving slowly at first. But soon, some of the aliens discovered that their 6 limbs gave them advantages on the descent. They could brace themselves better than humans could on steep sections. "I think I'm getting it," Kirina said, finding a rhythm to her steps. Even Zexler was moving more confidently. "It's like zero-G obstacle training, but with more consequences if you mess up." Alan smiled. "That's a good way to think about it." As they continued downward, the aliens began to talk more. They asked Alan questions about Earth, about human training, about how living in high gravity affected everything from military tactics to daily life. In combat training, Vextil asked, do humans use the advantage of being used to high gravity? Alan thought about it. Not directly, but it shapes everything we do. Humans born on Earth have about twice the muscle density of those born on space stations or low-gravity colonies. That's why Earth still provides most of the ground forces for the Alliance. Our tactical manuals say humans are physically inferior because of your harsh planet, another cadet said. But that's wrong, isn't it? Depends what you're measuring, Alan replied. In 0G, your species has clear advantages in movement and reaction time, but put us both on a planet with strong gravity. The aliens understood. Today's hike had shown them the truth more clearly than any lecture could have. As they reached a bend in the trail, they heard voices coming up from below. A group of human children, none older than 10 years, came into view. They were running up the trail, carrying small backpacks and laughing as they raced each other. "Hello," one little girl called out as she passed the aliens. She didn't even slow down as she continued up the steep path the aliens had found so challenging. The cadets watched in shock as the children disappeared around the bend, their voices fading. "Those were younglings," one cadet said in disbelief. "They ran up the trail we could barely walk down." Alan nodded. "School field trip, probably. The local schools bring kids up here all the time." This final revelation hit the aliens hard. What had been a supreme physical challenge for them was literally child's play for humans. The gravity that had nearly broken them was the force that had made humans so strong. With new respect for their human guide, the alien cadets continued down the mountain, their view of the galaxy and their place in it forever changed by a simple hike on planet Earth. The hike back to the Academy base was slower than Alan had planned. The alien cadets were completely worn out. Their muscles, unused to Earth's gravity, burned with every step. But something important had changed. There were no more complaints, no more whispered comments about primitive humans or their harsh planet. By the time they reached the base, the sun was already low in the sky. The aliens practically fell through the door of their quarters, dropping their packs and collapsing onto chairs and beds. "You all did well today," Alan said, standing in the doorway. He wasn't even tired. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll do some basic exercises in the gym." The aliens looked at him with a mix of horror and new respect. "More training tomorrow?" Zexler asked weakly. "Can't we have a day to recover?" Alan shook his head. "That's not how we do things on Earth. Consistent training is the key to adaptation. Your bodies will adjust faster if you keep working them." He left them to rest, knowing they would need every minute of sleep they could get. In his own quarters, Alan wrote up a report about the day's activities. The exchange program was going exactly as planned. The next morning, Alan arrived at the alien quarters at 0600 hours sharp. To his surprise, all 12 cadets were awake, though they looked stiff and sore. "I didn't expect you to be up already," he said. Bextil stood straighter, wincing slightly at the pain in his muscles. "We are soldiers, Sergeant Wells. Yesterday was educational. We will not be caught unprepared again." Alan nodded with approval. "Good. Today we'll work on building your strength. Basic exercises that human cadets learn in their first week." He led them to the Academy gym, a large room filled with various training equipment. Human cadets were already there, running on treadmills, lifting weights, and doing other exercises. They looked curiously at the alien visitors, but continued their workouts. "We'll start with something simple," Alan said. "Push-ups." He demonstrated the exercise, lowering his body to the floor and pushing back up using only his arms. 20 of these is standard for a warm-up. The aliens looked doubtful, but Vextil stepped forward. "I will try first." He got into position and tried to lower himself down. He managed one push-up, struggling against Earth's pull, then collapsed onto the mat. "This is impossible," he said, his voice strained. "Not impossible," Alan corrected. "Just difficult until your body adapts. Try using 4 limbs instead of 2. Find what works for your body type." The cadets experimented with different positions, using their multiple limbs to find ways to perform the exercises. Some found that using all 6 limbs worked best, Others discovered that 4 limbs in a modified push-up position gave them more stability. By the end of the first hour, all of them had found ways to do at least 5 push-ups, though the effort left them shaking. Now, pull-ups, Alan said, leading them to a bar mounted on the wall. He jumped up, grabbed it, and pulled his body up until his chin was over the bar. 10 of these is standard. The aliens watched in silent amazement. After the push-ups, the idea of pulling their entire body weight up against Earth's gravity seemed impossible. "I'll try," Kirina volunteered. She reached up and grasped the bar. With tremendous effort, she managed to pull herself up halfway before her strength gave out. She dropped back to the floor, breathing hard. "That was good for a first attempt," Alan encouraged. "It takes time to build the necessary strength." For the next 2 hours, they worked through various exercises: squats, lunges, planks, and more. The aliens struggled with all of them, but they kept trying. Not one of them quit, despite the pain and difficulty. As they finished the training session, a group of human officers entered the gym. The leader, a tall woman with short gray hair and a stern face, walked directly toward them. "Sergeant Wells," she said, "these must be our visitors from Tarvis Prime." Alan stood at attention. "Yes, General Harper, we're just finishing their second day of training." The general looked at the alien cadets, noting their exhausted state. How are they adapting to Earth conditions? Before Alan could answer, Vextil stepped forward. Though his limbs trembled with fatigue, he stood as straight as he could. "General, if I may speak," he said, "we are finding Earth to be more challenging than we expected, but we are learning valuable lessons." General Harper nodded. "Such as?" Vextil glanced at his fellow cadets before answering. "Such as the fact that our understanding of humans was deeply flawed. We were taught that your species was limited by your planet's harsh conditions. We now see that you are not limited by them. You are strengthened by them." The general smiled slightly. "An important lesson indeed, cadet. One that many species learn when they first visit Earth." She turned to Alan. "Carry on with your training program, Sergeant. I look forward to seeing their progress in the coming weeks." After the general left, the aliens looked at Alan with new questions in their eyes. "Is this why Earth provides so many of the Alliance's ground forces?" Zexler asked. "Because you are all this strong?" Alan nodded. "Partly. Humans from Earth have natural advantages when fighting on planets with substantial gravity. Our bones are denser, our muscles more powerful. Even humans born on space stations or colonies can't match Earth-born soldiers in raw strength. Our tactical manuals will need to be rewritten," Kirina said thoughtfully. "They seriously underestimate human physical capabilities." For the next week, the training continued. Each day, the aliens did a little better than the day before. By the end of the first week, all of them could do 10 push-ups. Some could even do a full pull-up. Their bodies were changing, adapting to Earth's gravity. Their muscles became more defined. Their movements, once slow and awkward, became more fluid and confident. They still struggled compared to humans, but the improvement was remarkable. One evening, after a particularly hard training day, Alan found Vextil sitting alone outside the barracks, looking up at the stars. "Homesick?" Alan asked, sitting down beside him. Vextil shook his head. "No, I was just thinking about how different things look from down here." "How so?" "On Tarvis Prime, we are taught that we are superior to most other species. Our low-gravity environment allows us to move faster, jump higher, react quicker. We believed that made us better." He gestured at the academy grounds around them. "But here on Earth, I see that evolution works differently than I thought. Your species didn't develop in spite of your heavy world. You developed because of it. Every human on this planet carries strength that my kind has to train years to achieve." Alan nodded. "Different environments, different strengths. Neither better nor worse, just different." "Perhaps," Vextil agreed. "But I wonder what other misconceptions I have about the galaxy and its people." As they sat in silence, a shooting star streaked across the sky. On Earth, even the stars looked different, seen through the thick atmosphere of a heavy world. Nothing, was as the aliens had expected. But in that difference, they were finding new truths about humans, about themselves, and about the diverse ways life could adapt and thrive throughout the galaxy. 2 months passed. The Tarvisian cadets continued their training on Earth. Every day they grew stronger. Their bodies changed in ways they never thought possible. Muscles developed where none had existed before. Bones that once seemed too fragile, for Earth's pull now supported them with ease. One morning, Alan arrived at their quarters with news. "We have visitors today," he told them. "Officials from the Galactic Alliance are coming to check on the exchange program." The aliens looked at each other with interest. They had not seen any of their own kind since arriving on Earth. "Will there be representatives from Tarvis Prime?" Vextil asked. Alan nodded. "Yes. Administrator Venko is leading the delegation. They'll observe your training and evaluate the program's success." The aliens straightened at this news. Administrator Venko was a senior official in their government and a former military commander. His opinion carried great weight. "When will they arrive?" Kirina asked. "This afternoon," Alan replied. "They'll watch your physical training session, so today we'll be in the main gym, not the smaller one we usually use." The cadets prepared carefully for the visit. They polished their uniform badges and made sure their quarters were perfectly organized. This was their chance to show what they had learned during their time on Earth. At 1400 hours, they assembled in the main gymnasium. Human cadets were there too, running through their normal training routines. The difference between the two groups was no longer as stark as it had been. While the Tarvisians still couldn't match the raw strength of Earthborn humans, they moved with new confidence and power. The doors opened, and a group of officials entered. At the front was Administrator Venko, tall even for a Tarvisian, with dark blue skin patterns that marked his high rank. With him were several human officers in formal uniforms, including General Harper. The alien cadets stood at attention in their version of a military salute. Administrator Venko approached them, his eyes wide with surprise as he took in their changed appearance. "Remarkable," he said, speaking in the Tarvisian clicking language. "You all look different." Vextil stepped forward and responded in standard English, not his native tongue. "Thank you for visiting, Administrator. We have learned much during our time on Earth." Venko switched to English as well. "So I see. Your physical development is unexpected. General Harper tells me you have made exceptional progress." "We have tried to represent Tarvis Prime with honor," Vextil said. The administrator nodded, then addressed the whole group. "Show me what you have learned." Alan stepped forward. "We've prepared a demonstration of their current training routine. They'll perform the standard first-year Earth Cadet physical assessment." What followed amazed the visiting officials. The Tarvisian cadets moved through a series of exercises that would have been impossible for them just weeks before. They did push-ups and pull-ups. They ran laps around the gym. They climbed ropes hanging from the ceiling, using their 6 limbs, to move in ways humans could not. Most impressive was their strength. While still not equal to the humans, they could now lift weights that would have crushed them on their first day. When the demonstration ended, Administrator Venko spoke quietly with General Harper. The two leaders then approached the cadets. I'm impressed," Venko said. "This goes beyond what we expected from the exchange program. Tell me, Cadet Vextil, what is the most important lesson you have learned here?" Vextil thought carefully before answering. "We came to Earth thinking we knew what humans were. Our manuals described them as gravity-bound heavy worlders. We believed their planet limited them, made them slow and weak compared to us." He looked at Alan, then back to the administrator. "We were wrong. Humans aren't constrained by their gravity, they're forged by it. Every human who walks this planet does so against constant resistance, building strength we never develop on Tarvis Prime." Venko's expression showed he understood the importance of this insight and the tactical implications. "Significant, sir," Vextil replied without hesitation. "Our military assessments of human capabilities need complete revision. They aren't gravity-bound at all. They're gravity-resistant warriors who thrive under pressure that would crush us. The administrator nodded slowly. I suspected as much. It's why I supported this exchange program. Some of our military leaders were becoming overconfident in our advantages. Later that evening, after the officials had departed, the alien cadets gathered in their common room. They were tired but pleased with how the demonstration had gone. Do you remember our first day here? Zexler asked, laughing. How we nearly collapsed just walking from the shuttle to our quarters? And that first hike, Kirina added. I thought I would die on that mountain. They all laughed, remembering their struggle against Earth's gravity. What had once been torture now seemed like an important rite of passage. Alan joined them, carrying a box of Earth snacks that the aliens had grown to enjoy. You all did well today, he said, setting down the box. Administrator Venko was impressed. He told General Harper that he wants to expand the exchange program next year. Vex still took one of the snacks. What happens when we return to Tarvis? Prime? Will we lose all this strength we've gained? Some of it, yes, Alan admitted, but not all. Your bodies have changed in ways that will last, and more importantly, what you've learned will stay with you. The humans who will visit our world, Kirina said thoughtfully. They'll find our gravity too weak, won't they? Alan nodded. They'll bounce around like they're on the moon at first, but they'll adapt, just as you did. We should prepare some special training for them, Zexler suggested with a mischievous click. Perhaps a light swim through our deep ocean trenches? They all laughed at the idea. The back and forth of the exchange program would continue, with each species learning from the other. 6 months later, when the first group of human cadets arrived on Tarvis Prime for their part of the exchange, they were greeted by Vextil. He had been appointed as an instructor specifically for the Earth visitors. Welcome to Tarvis Prime, he said as the humans stumbled awkwardly in the low gravity, struggling to control their movements. You'll find our world quite different from your own. The human cadets looked around with interest at the strange landscape. The tall, swaying buildings that could never stand on Earth. The Tarvisians moving with incredible speed and agility in their natural environment. We've prepared a training program for you, Vextil continued. Something to help you adapt to our way of life. Will it be difficult? One of the humans asked. Vextil made the Tarvisian equivalent of a smile. Not at all. Just a light swim through one of our ocean trenches. Nothing too challenging for Earth-born humans. As the humans exchanged nervous glances, Vextil added, Don't worry, the first day is just a warm-up. Behind him, Kirina and Zexlor, now also instructors, tried not to laugh. The cycle of learning, of challenge and adaptation, would continue. 2 species from different worlds, each with their own strengths, each with much to teach the other, and it had all begun with a light hike on planet Earth.